I'll call the meeting to order here at 4:02 p.m. So this is the Drought Ad Hoc Committee meeting. Myself and Supervisor Hasjack are on it, and it's a time for us to update what's going on. I'm sorry we're here. I was hoping after December that maybe we would be in a better place than we are, but even then we knew it would take some time, even had the rain continued, for us to build back some of our water supplies. The good news is that a lot of surface water and shallow aquifers have been replenished, but we still continue to have long-term concerns. So what we're going to do today is uh, have a discussion about some ongoing efforts to address the drought. Supervisor Hasjack, do you have anything to add to our discussion?
Well, I'd just like to thank everyone for being here today. Certainly we don't want to be here about discussing a drought. It should be raining and instead it's in the 80s or whatever. So we got to deal with it. And the good news is that we've kept this drought task force together. We got through last year and that crisis, and instead of just abandoning it, we realized that we probably still have problems this year. And so we're still working on it. So I really enjoy working with Supervisor McGordy and the team that we have, Howard DeShiel from the Department of Transportation and Judy Morris from the executive office. She's the deputy CEO. And so I think that we really have a good team working on these issues, and we will keep working on them because that's what we have to do. And certainly we have issues ahead of us. So hopefully today we'll be able to discuss what our plans are moving forward in a couple key areas, and then we will, just like we've done in the past, hear from people throughout the county and what their situation is on the ground. So with that, I might go to Howard DeShiel.
Thank you, Supervisor Hashtag. I'm coming through, correct?
Yes.
Yes, you are.
Good. So, I had just wanted to do a couple smaller updates. The one update would be, last August, obviously the board had a special emergency meeting. They identified county funds to kickstart the program of resupplying people who had previously been able to get their water at the city of Fort Bragg and were unable to do so because Fort Bragg's flows from their water sources had become too low. And the report of that is, obviously everyone knows that we were able to supplement Fort Bragg's water by a mutual aid agreement with the city of Ukiah, and they transferred water. We actually got a little ahead, and we're still ahead. We have approximately 667,000 gallons sitting in Fort Bragg's holding pond, ready for ready for use. So maybe we got a little too far ahead, but that water's there as the summer goes into the fall. We could haul again. We have funding from the Department of Water Resources, small community grant program to continue that through next year. And just one little interesting side note, I don't have numbers for January yet, but believe it or not, all through December, flows were going out of that reservoir at the rate of 3,000, 1,000 gallons, 3,500 gallons. People still need water hauled even in December, and I'm assuming January will be the same. So I think what was said before is true. It's not raining now, so who knows what's going to happen. My other report is the county had applied for a I want to get this right, for a urban multi-benefit drought relief program grant, and the board supported that preparation by a consultant. And at this time, that grant is complete. It's the state has it. We don't expect that we will. I wished I would have had a report tonight. I don't think I'm going to have an update on how successful that is until mid-February or the beginning of March. So that'll probably be an update for our next task force meeting. With that, Supervisor McGorty or Hashtag, I'll take questions or let you have your meeting back.
Sure. Howard, what is in the grant? Do you remember specifically what we hope to accomplish with the urban and multi-benefit drought grant?
So sure, it's the public can still view it at the Board of Supervisors website. I think you approved the RFP and scope, which was published at your board's website. I think it was either December 7th or the meeting before in November. But really, we asked for a lot of funding to do countywide monitoring of groundwater, to look at surface water, to explore ideas with partner agencies that might want to analyze a project's benefit. So I wish I could just rattle those off for you, Supervisor McGorty. And if I get that exact link to where that RFP is at, I will put it in the chat so the people here can just look at it in the chat.
I think that's quite sufficient, really, just to say that we want to continue with our water monitoring, because we're seeing that our aquifers are having more pressure put on them with the drought than normal. So that was kind of our concern. And in addition to that, Supervisor Hashtag and I have also been discussing through a connection that Josh Metz made on some water quality issues and the potential of having some water quality work done around the county, particularly the North County, where we're concerned about the potential of arsenic and other metals, particularly in the Covelo region, being in the water and then having treated water. So there is a Department of Water Resource, or I'm sorry, State Water Resources Control Board has a Department of Drinking Water, and they would be the ones who would be working with us on that. And to kind of remedy it, there is also a group, RCAC, who I forget what that acronym stands for, but they kind of specialize in working in small water systems and rural water quality issues. I've made contact with them. There's a fellow named Ari Newman who has worked with other communities on arsenic issues, and they would be interested in partnering with us for grants to address a point of connection type treatment. So we were concerned. I was concerned about schools, as was Supervisor Hashtag, particularly Round Valley schools. So we had I had a conversation with a superintendent of MCOE, Michelle Hutchins, about do the schools have water treatment? Do they monitor water quality? And she said absolutely. So even though there may be arsenic in some wells and in the Covelo area, it is being addressed by the school. So we know that the school water is high quality and doesn't contain anything that would be damaging to kids. Obviously a huge concern. And all of the school districts around the county have that program going on of monitoring and water treatment to be sure that the water for the campuses are all safe for drinking. So just so you know, because I didn't know, I assumed so, but you should never assume anything until you know for sure. So Michelle, Superintendent Hutchins said that's indeed the case. Supervisor Hashtag, anything you wanted to add on the water quality concerns?
Well, I think that what we're working on, what Howard was talking about with this, the grant proposal is over $2 million grant proposal. And that's really to study the quantity of the water we have in the county and to do that kind of research, because like Supervisor McGorty has often pointed out, we don't know a lot about a lot of areas in our county and what the groundwater looks like, how much we're dealing with. We have an idea about, the Ukiah Basin. I think Willits and Laytonville have pretty good ideas. Fort Bragg, has some experts there working on that, and they know what they're dealing with. But outside of those districts, we don't have that much knowledge, and I think that's part of the goal of this urban and multi-benefit drought grant proposal, is to get an idea about what we're dealing with, how much we have, and how to be more sustainable. And then this other issue with the water quality is certainly concerning. If we have areas in the county that have high levels of arsenic, then this agency from the State Water Board can hopefully help us out and do some mitigation measures, at point of use, or other things that they can do to mitigate that kind of arsenic in the water. So I think we're looking at the two issues: the quantity and the quality.
Mhm.
And hopefully we get these grants and are able to make a lot of good progress, because the rain's not in the forecast.
No, it's not. And of course, the other thing that we're also working on, another project that is underway, is the GEI consulting project with the feasibility of forming our Mendocino County Water Agency. It's already formed, but kind of ramping up and rebuilding it. And Howard, I don't know if you want to make any comments about that. I know that the grant is underway. So, well, I know personally that I've received a questionnaire, and I'm filling that out, and between now and May, hopefully they'll be able to give us the particulars about putting together an organization that would effectively serve in Mendocino County and be properly sized to do the mission that we need to do. And what exactly that mission is still being defined. Certainly will be involved with all things associated with water development and water assessments, such as we're talking about right here. And we hope to have expertise in-house in the county to be able to discuss hydrology in the different regions and really have a much better handle on what our water resources consist of. That's certainly a goal that I have, because we find ourselves in such a marginal situation in so many of our communities, and we need to address long term how we're going to provide water for our population.
And if I could jump in here, we have one question in the chat, which is, have there been any water storage projects started for the coast?
As far as I know, there has not. So I think there was an application that was made from the Mendocino County or Mendocino City Community Services District, but they were not funded through the last round of drought grants. So that's a shame, because certainly Mendocino town needs to have water storage. So that's what I know right now. I don't know if there's anyone on the call from Mendocino.
Yep, here's another one. Mendocino application may be funded in the next round, and that's what Josh Metz says. Hey, Josh. So thank you. And what I wanted to do too is, if there's 20 people on the call, and if you're in some water district, water area, and want to have, instead of raising your hand, because I don't know if we can see that, just put in the chat your name and we'll call on you, and you can give a report when that time comes, because we do want to have an interactive way. That when Josh was running these meetings, I thought that was very effective, when people could say what was happening in their areas, and we can have that kind of give and take. So Howard, do you have anything else for us?
Well, Howard is very technologically challenged, But the question about, because I can't post this somehow to the chat, but the Board of Supervisors, November 16th meeting, it was item 6C from this Drought Task Force. And that was the Larry Walker Associates Grant Writing Services, and the scope of that grant I was asked about earlier. The public can find it there, November 16th, item 6C. And with that, I know that you had just asked about the new water agency function. I'll have to look that up now, but the board had approved that prior. And that again was direction from the full board to look at a water agency based on the new mission. So Supervisor McGorty was correct. They're doing surveys. If you got a survey and you're on this call, please answer it. You know, we need all the data we can get, all the input we can get from stakeholders, so that the board can plan a successful endeavor. So I don't know if I answered your question, Supervisor Hashcheck. If you want to rephrase it, I'll try.
No, that's good, Howard.
Yeah, that's all we need to know. So as I said, the process is ongoing. We hope to be done sometime in May, and then we'll be making our next moves of long range planning for how Mendocino County handles water. So
And
go ahead.
this is Judy. I was going to help field some of these questions for you, if that would help. It looks like there's a question really for Howard, from Michael Katz. Does the county plan to subsidize water delivery to the coast again this year?
So sure, that's what I was reporting on before. The grant we got from DWR is good through, well, I think the very first part of 2023, but we definitely will have an on-call contract with a trucker that can deliver the capacity that we needed. And so Fort Bragg runs out of water again. The answer is yes. We're online to do that, and we've got help from the state.
But that's for residential, right?
Correct, but the city of Fort Bragg has indicated that they can probably, and we're able to step up and say, when the state wouldn't fund commercial, that they would make their available surplus water available for commercial. And then it looks like if the county picks up the residential, I guess in a worst case scenario, if Fort Bragg has said that they've got to take care of their own citizens first, I get that we could be in a situation where the board might have to fund commercial again. But right now, we're saying we didn't have to do that, at least after the grant came into effect September 21st, 2021.
All right. Thank you. So
Sorry, Supervisor, go ahead.
well, if we're ready to go on, Supervisor McGorty and I have been working on an issue that's near and dear to a lot of people in the county. It's about the water hauling and extraction. So if you want to go on to that, we can tell you what it's about. And some people have been involved. We've had a group of about 15 that have been working on this for quite a few months. And we have something that's still a work in progress, but we're going to present something to the board on March 15th. And
Yes, we should go on, and why don't you give a brief overview of what the problem is and how we hope to solve it.
yeah, great. And so if I could just read this little part, it's with the drought and increased aridity as ongoing issues in Mendocino County, people are increasingly concerned about wells going dry and aquifers being excessively tapped, especially in regards to extraction and hauling of water for unpermitted cannabis grows. There are many reports of people with wells selling water that is then transported to distant locations for unpermitted usage. According to Baldwin versus Tehama County, counties have the authority to regulate the transfer of water. an ordinance regulating water extraction and hauling to unpermitted business usages will help people better understand their groundwater and allow law and code enforcement to enforce and regulate the transport of water. And so what we're looking at is really an ordinance that would there's 5 points to it. So the first one is anyone selling either potable or non-potable water shall be required to have a county permit and business license to do so. And then there are other regulations that the state requires for drinking water for which people need to be aware. Number 2 is a hydrology study shall be required for new extraction permits of water for the purpose of sale. Number 3, and that's really so people know what will happen to the neighbor's water if someone starts pumping out water for commercial purposes. Number 3, all water providers and water haulers must maintain a tracking log. Environmental health, code enforcement, and the sheriff's office will monitor the tracking logs. Number 4, enforcement of this ordinance will need collaboration and coordination between environmental health, the new water agency, code enforcement, and the sheriff's office. A point person dedicated to this effort is needed, especially during summer and fall months. And number 5, penalties for violations need to be substantial to deter unregulated water use. First violation is $1,000. Second violation is $2,000, and third violation is $3,000. And lastly, no commercial water hauling from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. in Mendocino County unless specifically authorized by the sheriff's office and/or fire agencies for a specific use or emergency. So I just wanted to give you those kind of concepts, and it's all a work in progress at this point too. But I wanted to let people know what we're thinking about. And, these are discussion points for the board because we are trying to confront the problems that we're facing with another drought year and this issue of water trucks hauling from valley floors up into the hills.
Yeah, we're trying to, it'd be nice not to have to worry about this, quite honestly, but there is such a public furor about water trucks. That seems to be something of, if you live in a neighborhood where people are hauling water, it's quite an impact on you. And I think a lot about parts of our county that are on dirt roads and the trucks going by between the noise and the dust, and especially when there's a lot of them going by, it really gets people upset. And especially if they think that their precious resources are being spent on illegal grows that don't pay taxes to the county and don't necessarily have people from the county doing the work and certainly taking the money and reinvesting it in the community. It gets very upsetting to them. So that's kind of the logic behind this, and we don't really know the impact in a lot of cases. So we'll see how it goes, but we'll have a good discussion between the Board of Supervisors to see if we want to move forward with it. If those of you who have concerns or questions about it, this would be an opportunity for you to express them.
Yeah, or within the next couple of weeks, get in touch with us.
Yes. Yeah. If you can't think of anything right off the bat, but that's the direction we're going because because of community concerns, we feel like there should be somebody who addresses this and takes it seriously, and we certainly do.
And in no way are we trying to limit, the legal water hauling, water for legitimate purposes and all that. We're focused on these, the issues that are presenting themselves to us. And that's really, taking the water, leaving, the 80-year-old woman who has a well without water, the water quality, fears of water quality going down too because of the amount of water being hauled up into the hills. And then the water trucks on the roads and, unpermitted cannabis grows really out there that shouldn't be out there. So So that's what we're trying to, that's our goal with these. So anyway, if anyone has any comments later, you can make them. And but why don't we go to some of these people? I see that, let's see, Bree was on from Redwood Valley.
Big Potter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hi. So I'm on the board of the Redwood Valley County Water District, and I just wanted to give you guys an update. Just this past week, every customer, both of ag and municipal water, got a letter that stated that there will be no ag water available through 2022, nor will there be any change in the required conservation, which is 55 gallons a day per person. So we're trying to be proactive. Of course, we don't know what's going to happen with the weather. Maybe there will be a miracle March, but we did feel we needed to let our customers know what the situation is and to encourage the ongoing efforts at conservation. And we also felt it was important that our ag users knew that there was not going to be any water available, because there continued to be, or we were hearing that ag folks were still thinking that they were going to be getting water, and that just is not going to be the case. So anyhow, just letting you know, we're trying to be proactive and keeping people aware of what the situation is up here.
Yeah, thanks, Bree. It's a stark reminder of what we're facing. Supervisor McGordy?
Yeah, it's the whole issue of water and Lake Mendocino once again is low. And then next, after this subject, we're going to talk a little about the Potter Valley project. But it looks like we're in for another very difficult year.
Bree, you were going to add something?
Nope, that's all I had to say.
All right, well, thank you for that.
Sure.
Let's see, John Smith from Fort Bragg.
Yes, hello everybody.
Hi, John.
Just thought I'd offer my services if there's something I can provide.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about. I know you were successful in one of your grant proposals, and also what the water situation looks like right now in Fort Bragg.
Sure, yeah. So happy to do that. We did receive $8.8 million for our raw water line project, which provides half of the water for the city of Fort Bragg. That line is probably 80 years old. Some of it more than that, longer than that. So we're excited to get that armored and replaced. We'll probably break ground probably late summer for that. And we've got another few projects in the works as well. We also put out to bid our water meter project. We've awarded that, and they expect to. We'll probably have a pre-con meeting here in a couple of weeks and get that started as well. That'll be some water savings for us as we get rid of the mechanical meters and go to ultrasonic. That'll measure drops of water, so we're looking forward to that. So for our water situation here, we are getting a little bit concerned. We're down about 30% throughout all three of our sources. And that's from last year, which is a significant amount of water that we're missing.
Hold it, John.
Yeah.
So you're saying that at this point last year, you're 30% down from that?
Correct.
Well, that's not good news.
No, it's not.
We're cutting you off right now. No more time. No.
Yeah, we're getting pretty excited about that.
Yeah.
You know, we've got that desal system, but you know, it can only provide so much. So we'll start being proactive. This is about the same time we got started with working on water projects last year. You can kind of see it coming. You know, the number of inches we've received. I think last year we received 11 inches by this time. We're up to 18, but that's just really didn't make a difference. It's just not recharging the groundwater enough. So yes, we will probably have problems unless it rains most days for the remainder of the winter here. It's going to be challenges, and I'll be providing that information to our council as well. So we'll get ready for the worst, hope for the best.
Yeah.
John, are you getting ready to implement water conservation measures and reductions in water use by customers?
We will start. Sorry about all the background noise. We'll start talking about that. I'll bring it up to the council on Monday, just as staff comments, and see what direction they want to go. But if we don't see anything in the next month or so, probably, yeah.
Okay.
And John, you were saying that with the water pipe replacement project that you're going to start in late summer. How long do you think that project will take?
2 construction seasons,
Okay,
we expect, unless it's a dry winter again, which we're not hoping that happens. But there is a deadline with these DWR funds. They're supposed to be expended by March of 24. So it does add to the challenges here with the project, but we're hopeful we can get everything done and completed by that time.
okay. Anything else we need to know?
I don't think so. Start working with Howard on potential water hauling here, I guess, possibly. I assume if we're having these low flows, that'll have an impact on some of the neighbors here in the community, so in their wells.
Someone was asking me the other day about the desalination and the cost of it. You were doing that. You got it online in August or something of last year, right?
Correct,
And
September, but yeah.
September.
Mhm.
And so what was the price of water coming out of that?
The price,
I mean, do you know what the cost of producing that water is?
I don't. We honestly only had it online for about 3 days before the rains came, and we just didn't get an opportunity to measure any electrical amps or anything like that. So
Okay.
we're short on information for that, but it's so precious, you know, the cost can be high and it'd be tolerable.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it is plumbed and ready to go for this coming season, I take it.
It is, yes. We were just looking at storing it, winterizing it for this summer, but we might just keep it out.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for calling in and being here today.
You bet.
Thank you, John.
Let me know how I or we can help.
Well,
Okay.
we'll certainly be in touch, right? Unfortunately. So anyway, we have some questions. The first one is, has any organization received funding from the Cal DWR Small Community Drought Relief Program? It sounds like the Township of Mendocino has been contacted and wonder if others have received a response to grant applications.
No, I don't know the answer to that. But it's something I guess we'll have to find out. So I don't know how many applications were made for Mendocino County, and or I should say inside of Mendocino County. So the county itself didn't specifically apply for those other than for water hauling.
Okay. And Joan says, why is water being released from Lake Mendocino when it's only 30%, 37% full?
Well, I'll take a crack at this. So there are required flows that Sonoma County Water Agency has for supplying its needs, and that also of fisheries. So that's part of the reason why. So they have to maintain in-stream flows. They have minimums that are set by National Marine Fisheries Service that they have to meet in order to supply water for fisheries habitat. So that's why water is being released at this time.
Okay, and then Jessica Stoll-Otto from Cobolo is going to give an update on Round Valley.
Hi, everyone. First, I want to say thanks so much for keeping these going. This is incredibly important, and we're clearly in the realm of climate change. And I hope that even if we're lucky and get a nice wet year next winter, we keep moving towards sustainability in ways that we really need to. So thank you. I just wanted to give a little update. Our water district did apply for some grant funding with some help from the North Coast Regional Partnership. I have not helped with that, so I don't know the details, but I'm glad to see that's going forward. Our wells have, our well readings from January seem to be pretty good, actually, from that October and December rain, so that's great. But since we're not seeing the rain, we're already drawing from those wells to do things like gardening. And I also wanted to point out, I don't know if you've noticed the newest satellite imagery on Google has come out, and it's really, I found it really interesting to see how much there has been a shift to greenhouses for a lot of these expansive and ever-growing, it seems, unpermitted cannabis grows. And I'm thinking that that means that there's year-round growing and not just seasonal crops that are outdoors. So with an increase of that, that's an increased demand on the groundwater. So I'm glad you're working on that in the various ways. And I also wanted to throw out there that one of the issues that came up that we haven't figured out how to deal with yet or address is when we were doing the Move 2030 work, we found that we have a need for emergency fire prevention water system in our town. A lot of our buildings have been burned down. We don't, and replacing them is very expensive because you have to have a sprinkler system that's pressurized. And, you know, we rely on water trucks to show up to put fires out here. And a lot of the time it's just enough to prevent the fire from spreading to the next building if we're lucky, but not actually save the building. And so as we're like looking into this dry future of climate change and putting together our toolbox and increasing our water storage for all sorts of purposes with drought, I really hope we're also gonna keep fire prevention in mind. And we'd really like to make sure that our downtown is kind of on the radar for that need as well. Some, you know, maybe just some good old fashioned water tanks somewhere or something. So those are my thoughts to share. Thank you for being here.
All right, thank you, Jessica.
Yeah, so I know that there are multiple grants that are grant funds that are being developed for fire prevention, and it's, again, we're you know, I'm in pretty close contact with the Mendocino County Fire Safe Council and Scott Craddy, so this is something we can put on our radar. And developing municipal systems, water systems, is of course expensive and takes some real good thinking, engineering, and funding to accomplish. But certainly, it's, you know, communities like Covelo would probably fare pretty well in a scoring system for disadvantaged communities. So I would think that there should be some possibilities for that if we make it a priority. Howard, you've been involved a little bit with Redwood Valley's system, and I just wondered how that came about in terms of the funding stream for it.
Well, I guess it was good news and sort of lucky that the ARPA, which I can't remember the acronym, SURFA ARPA, basically the coronavirus relief funds that Congress approved in, I think some of them were in 2020 and some of them were in 2021. Water systems were, water infrastructure was eligible, and the funding that Senator McGuire and Carmel Angelo were instrumental in getting from the state and federal government to upsize the water lines in the burned area of Redwood Valley. Those grants would not pay for response or hydrants. So when that other funding came along, county executive office was able to, and the board of supervisors did approve, allocating, I think it was $250,000 for, I believe about 25 or 26 fire hydrants out there in Redwood Valley that could utilize those upsized lines. But that was how that happened. Supervisor McGorty, we were, I guess, at the right place at the right time, and the right grant came along.
Okay, so there you have it.
And I'll just give a report from Willits. Last night they had a presentation about the additional well that they're looking at in Willits to provide for emergency and extraordinary situations for the community of Willits. And they looked at the mitigated negative declaration and decided to send it back for more concrete numbers about how much water would be extracted and under what circumstances. So it was a good discussion, and I think that they're coming up with they'll come back in a couple months with another, with more information for the public. So I think that was a good decision, and I think that people will understand what the city's trying to do and have something that they can all live with. And so we want to go over to the what's happening with the Potter Valley project.
Sure. So the Potter Valley project continues with its drama as we try to figure out what's going to happen. And probably the most important things to note, we had a deadline of February 1st of going to the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission with our two basin solution ad hoc partners to come up with a description of how we're going to fund and conduct the studies, which will cost about $25 million. And that would be how essentially we would take over and finance the Potter Valley project and eventually take down Scott Dam. And that was a decision that was made several years ago by the ad hoc committee, that they felt that the two basin solution could allow winter transfers of water when flows were high into Lake Mendocino, and the dam wouldn't be necessary. And the problem is that there's still no real data to see if that would work or not. And meanwhile, drought conditions get worse. So I can't say everyone is enthusiastically on board with that idea. So we missed the deadline. So essentially, April 14th was when we were supposed to have our license application in to take over the Potter Valley project from PG&E, and it's pretty unlikely that's going to happen. So I think essentially the core goal of the two basin solution ad hoc committee is kind of changed, and we're going to have a meeting tomorrow with not supervisor, but Congressman Huffman about this, and we'll have a discussion. What do we do next? So PG&E is not relicensing the facility, but that doesn't mean that they're going to completely abandon it immediately. It's going to take time for them to decommission it. Meanwhile, you probably heard that they had an issue with the equipment and that they haven't been generating electricity. The generators have been down. And this winter, they allowed a bypass flow of 45 cubic feet per second to fulfill the needs of Potter Valley winter irrigation, primarily for overstock, and people who have animals still need to have water primarily for drinking water for the animals, and it takes a fair amount of water to fill up the canals to do all of that. And there was a potential of having up to almost 140 cubic feet per second in bypass flow. So in other words, they can't run the generators, but they can run water around them. So the request was put into PG&E to please allow up to 140 cubic feet per second to go around the generators. And PG&E said back to the two basin solution partners, are you all in on this? And Humboldt County and Caltrout said, no, we're not. We don't support it. And the other partners said, yes, we do. So PG&E came back and said, unless there's a unified voice on this, we're not going to do it. So while we could have probably put another 10,000 acre feet of water into Lake Mendocino, unfortunately, we're not doing it because we don't have buy-in from everybody in this situation. So it's one of the questions I'm going to ask the people from Humboldt County tomorrow if I have the opportunity is, why aren't you supporting us in our moment of crisis? We normally work together so well. And certainly we work together in other areas like law enforcement and fire, and it's really disappointing to see them essentially put us in a worse situation when they could have helped. And I'd like an answer. So going forward, PG&E has said that since they have to kind of own this facility for, they're not sure how many years it'll take to decommission everything and take everything apart, they will continue to generate electricity. They are going to repair the facility because they get to charge the customers for it. So even though the long-term future is a little bit unknown about how long the Potter Valley project is going to be in place generating electricity, in the short term, PG&E is going to repair it, which is good news because then we'll have the flow from the plant when it's operating, which means Lake Mendocino will get the water that comes through, is used to generate power, and then is abandoned, as they say, into the Potter Valley irrigation districts, and then whatever is not used by the irrigation district goes on to Lake Mendocino. So that's kind of the latest update. After this meeting today, we'll have a meeting with the Mendocino Inland Power Water Commission, and we'll get further update, because every time it seems like every week something is completely changing. It's really been one of the most dramatic things I've worked on, and at the same time, one of the most frustrating things. I would say there's one other development too. There was another meeting that we had with some of the partners, basically the Russian River side of the partners with Lake County, who also was not very happy about bypass flows, and we asked them to write a letter to support us on trying to up the bypass flows, and they just said that essentially that they don't support anything because they've been left out of the whole process, and they're extremely unhappy about the thought that Scott Dam's going to be taken down and they will lose Lake Pillsbury without really having an opportunity to weigh in and to participate in the decision-making process. And I understand that, but that would be very frustrating. So politically, what I see happening that's going to be different is that with redistricting, Congressman Mike Thompson will once again represent all of Lake County. And of course, he's quite an advocate for agriculture and as well as fisheries and wildlife. So he takes a very balanced view, and I'm sure he will want to participate in this discussion since it affects Lake County and important constituency for him. So that's kind of the update as I understand it right now. And this is going to be a long tail by the time it's finished, and it'll take more than my supervisor term to see a conclusion to this. And I just want to let you know that we're all really actively engaged. The Mendocino County Board of Supervisors authorized another $50,000 to participate in the Mendocino Inland Water Power Commission. Because we have legal fees as we try to work through this, as we try to secure water rights so that we can keep our towns and agriculture continuing to thrive. We've had over 100 years based on the infrastructure built around the water flowing from the Eel River to the Russian River, and hope to continue that arrangement since our towns and people and economy are all really dependent on that. So that's kind of my report for now.
Well, I really appreciate your work on that, Supervisor McGordy. You know,
Thank you.
it's certainly had its twists and turns, and there will be more, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you for being diligent.
Mhm.
I wanted to open it up to see if anyone from the public had any comments at this point. And you can put it in the chat or raise your hand, or I don't know how we'd see the raised hand, but maybe Judy sees that.
We have John Alameda. He has his hand up.
Okay, great. Hi, John.
Am I coming through?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Welcome.
anyway, I was at the meeting last night, and just so you know, everyone out there knows, the city has 3 wells, and now there's 2 of them that are contaminated with arsenic. Now the Park well, which is along Commercial Street, approximately a mile south of the Long 20 well, which is north of town. Both of these are found out now are contaminated with arsenic, so they pulled them out of their program. Adjacent to that north well, Long 20 well, is the Elias well, probably another 1,000 feet out there. The only one right now that we believe that might not have contamination, although some people feel there's traces. Now, I attended the meeting last night and I sent in documentation. Also sent in a report from Elias. Thomas Elias does reports on what's happening in the Sacramento Valley. And they've discovered over there that the overpumping of their aquifer, because of not having enough water in their reservoirs due to the drought, has caused contaminants to come into people's wells, not only drying up wells, but bringing in contaminants. So of course, myself and others that live in this valley that rely on our wells completely do not have any other source, are concerned of overpumping the only well the city has available for potable water. So they want that for a backup, and I'm hoping that they use that for a backup and don't start pumping it hard, because I'm concerned about, even if my well doesn't go dry, having contaminants contaminate it. So I guess I'll be having my well tested every year now. Had it tested last 2 years ago, and there's not contaminants, but we're very concerned about that. So that makes you look at the picture of, well, is Mendocino doing anything to help their situation this year so they don't have to come inland to get water? Because frankly, the inland is going to be the one in the end that suffers. These coastal communities, they may be getting water from the inland for a certain amount of time, but when it all dries up, they're going to turn around and say, hey, we got the Pacific Ocean right here. Let's get desalination. And what I'm saying is, need to be going after that money right now and writing grants, because this year the state has a surplus of over $40 billion. And that needs to be happening. Mendocino County should not be sitting for another round of this shipping water. I mean, there'll be a lot of protest if this thing ever happened, and I hope it's a decision that's long gone, about putting water on the rails and sending it over there. That's just too much. I'm for helping people with health and human habitat issues. And I'm not for helping businesses that had 40 years to work on their situation and have not done anything. There shouldn't be any community in this county that has to depend on another city for water year after year, and Mendocino has done that. So I'm saying the 2 most important projects you have that you should be looking at is desalination on the coast and doing something about the Potter Valley project for the inland. And part of that's going to be pointing out to those people at that meeting that we believe that you would never let us have any water. I could tell you myself from years of seeing this happen that I could have told you before that those people up in the Arcadia area are never going to agree to letting anybody have water. They seem to don't care about anybody but themselves. And they happen to have an alliance with Congressman Huffman for some reason. And I don't like that. And I hope that everybody recognizes it from Mendocino County and Sonoma County and Marin County and starts working toward political change if they have to. But anyway, that's what I've got. Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks, John, for that kind of perspective on what's happening in Willits, because I know mine was brief. And so anyway, are there any other comments from the public or anyone else on the panel?
I would just say a little bit on the arsenic situation so that people kind of understand a few things. One is that some of these are natural contaminants that are just a result of the particular geology that we have, and the limit for arsenic and water is 1 part per billion, which is very, very small amounts. And the problem is that when we think about chronic use of water, arsenic may bioaccumulate, and that's our big worry, particularly with children. So that's why we have a pretty much a kind of a zero tolerance for having arsenic in water. At a part per billion, it could be that you could actually handle some of that and without becoming sick, but we always worry about it being present, period. So it's one of those substances that we just really absolutely don't want in our water supply, either that or lead, because of the potential harm that it has over time and chronic toxicities. And some of the water well reports that I've seen personally have been as high as 16 parts per billion, which is way past the limit. And while it may not be toxic to plants, we're still very concerned about anything that's elemental when we pump it, because it doesn't biodegrade. I mean, once you bring it into your environment, it stays there. So this is one of the things that's a huge concern.
Right. Thank you for that. Any other comments? Let's see.
Oh, Jim Sullivan is correcting me. Arsenic is 10 parts per billion. Is actually the limit. Is that correct? Jim, are you there? Do you want to talk about this for a second?
Hi, Jim.
There we go. Yeah, the MCL for arsenic is 10 parts per billion. That's still very low. And that's the federal EPA limit for drinking water systems. As a lot of folks know, that private wells are not regulated. So, the 10 part per billion is, basically a suggested health-based number for, those folks. But it is the recognized drinking water standard for public water systems. That's it.
Sorry for the misinformation. And thinking back on it, I was looking at an agricultural publication, and I'm not sure if that was a water standard for ag, but I can't imagine it would be lower than drinking water. So I'm probably just
no. Actually, I think you might be right. There are some standards that are lower for fish habitat or fish and aquatic life. So that could be.
And certainly things like boron too. We can tolerate boron better than plants can.
Yeah.
And we do have boron in our water. It's another common contaminant in the North Coast. And I know of situations where people have adequate water for their house, but they can't irrigate with it because it's like a herbicide on their plants that pretty much kills them. So
Right.
there are some elements that we can tolerate that plants can't, and vice versa.
Yeah, and if I could add one more point about arsenic, it is, you know, a naturally occurring contaminant in a lot of cases, but in some instances, it can be in the geology and not be a real problem until you have conditions where you have a fluctuation of the aquifer that basically helps to mobilize the arsenic. And so if you have, you know, some pretty serious pumping going on in your aquifer, you know, year in, year out, you know, that fluctuation could, you know, potentially mobilize and oxidize some of the arsenic that may be in the sediments and, you know, cause problems.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think you're right on with that, and that's what a lot of people are concerned with this overpumping of aquifers and you know,
Exactly.
destabilizing what has been there geologically. So,
Great, thank you
well,
for that.
yeah, thank you. Any other comments? Once, twice? But thank you everyone for being here today. And we are going to meet again in 2 months. So that will be April around this time, second Thursday of the month. And we'll do this again in April and then June. And then at that point, we're going to reevaluate to see if we need to start meeting more often. So
Supervisor Hashak, I see that Josh said hello. I don't know if he was trying to speak.
oh, hi Josh, did you want to? Oh,
Okay, he says yes.
okay, Josh, you have something?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yes. No, I just I got a nice little email from Judy, and I just wanted to say that you know, I'm here listening today, but I do remain you know, supportive and engaged to some degree on you know, working towards the future, a sustainable water future. There are things going on in the background. I think folks, you know, a lot of good reporting here. You know, great work that you, Supervisor Hashak and McGordy are leading. But there are, you know, things that sort of we got started last year that continue to bubble up. You mentioned the work with the state water boards, and Jim Sullivan's been really helpful in his role on the SAFER program, which is a board position he's doing that has led to some of these connections. So I think the importance of kind of maintaining these forums, this kind of regular forum, is really quite high. I think it's valuable that people are talking about water and exploring ways to, you know, make it, you know, solve these problems. It's definitely not going away. We've been counting the days on the dry days. So I'm just chiming in here at the end to, you know, support continuing to have these meetings and continuing to have, you know, active kind of outreach from the county at the supervisor level, but also at the staff level to support, you know, all these things that we need to keep going in order to be successful. I think some of the grant programs, you know, John Smith talked about this wonderful outcome that the city of Fort Bragg had with their getting that almost $9 million grant. You know, that didn't just sort of happen, and it didn't just begin last summer. You know, John and his team had been working on a design and sort of moving the process forward for quite some time beforehand. And then the county was able to come in with some engineering capacity and support the city in getting application together so that when the urban multi-benefit grant program opened up, they were at the front of the line. And for that and other reasons, they were successful. I think it's a great model of, you know, preparing for where, you know, moving to where the puck is going rather than sort of where it is today. So I could go on, but I just wanted to chime in here. I know I've enjoyed working with, and I do enjoy working with many of you, and look forward to that continuing in the year ahead.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Josh. Josh, of course, was on as a special assignment to help us with the drought task force, or I should say, our emergency drought response for last year. He's as a consultant. We've run out of money, and we hope to repurpose Josh and keep him involved with helping us somehow here in Mendocino County. So I don't expect him to disappear from the scene. We hope to continue a relationship with him in some capacity in the future.
Yeah.
So thank you, Josh.
Thanks, Josh. And Judy has her hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure Josh was on early and not get overlooked with his comments. So I sent him a note. So I'm glad he saw that note. And thanks for the update, Josh. And Supervisor Hashtag, that date is April 14th, which would be the next meeting.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Mhm.
April 14th.
Correct.
All right. And with that, we'll bid adieu for the evening. Okay, thank you, everyone. And
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for your participation. Good to hear and see from a lot of you. So till the next time.
think rain.
Yeah, think rain.
Okay.